From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Well, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Amber GRIGLEY. For some moms, this Mother's Day marks the first without their child. Tonight, we show you how a local event brought the moms and families of Indy homicide victims together to celebrate, honor, and support each other this weekend. Our Nikki Dementry has the latest.
When you go through something, you're there to help someone else.
Sunday marks Melissa Jude's first Mother's Day without her son, Chandler Bussey. The 20-year-old was killed last June at Arsenal Park.
It's been a lot of tears off and on all week, but I have kept very busy.
Busy with planning a picnic at Bethel Park for mothers like herself who have lost a child to gun violence.
My heart is just swelling with what we got going on today.
Her organization, How Tired Are You, partnered with Parents Forever for Justice and other groups.
If it's not justice for my child or Melissa's child, or we want justice for somebody's child.
The hope to give support to mothers this Mother's Day weekend.
What's going on? It feels good to have a group of people that understand how we all feel and we can be there to support one another.
Food, faith, and fun. Some showing support through a rap.
Come put yourself in my shoes.
Others through dance.
We're ministering a piece called Show Me Your Face.
Patricia Carter-Clark is the director of the Project Community Praise Team who performed at the picnic. The team started in 2007 and shares messages through dance and sign language.
So many mothers lose their children and they're just thrown away and put in the background. You know, you get a newspaper article, you get a couple of TV spots, and that's it. But nothing can take away or bring back the love that you have for a child that you've had to bury. So I'm here to support them and let them know we love them.
Jude says she plans on making this an annual Mother's Day tradition.
Just because there will always, sadly, be more mothers that come along that have lost a child, and it will be there first.
Working for you, Nikki Dementry, WRTV.
And thank you so much, Nikki, for that update. Metro Police are investigating after a man was found shot to death in a Southside park. Officers were patrolling Southside Park on Hannah Avenue around 12:30 this morning when they spotted an unoccupied vehicle in the park. They found the body nearby. Detectives canvassed the area and collected potential evidence, but no suspects were located at the time. The man's identity has not yet been released. A community is grieving the loss of two young people in a tragic crash. 23-year-old Deasia Hogan and her newborn baby died after a collision about a week ago near Roy and Franklin Roads on the northeast side of Indianapolis. Deasia died at the scene. Family members say her 17-day-old daughter, Colette, died at Riley Hospital for Children. Well, today, the family held a balloon release, choosing the colors pink and white to honor her. White for prosperity and innocence, and pink for love.
Asia was one of my 29 grandchildren. And for this accident to happen the way it did for her life, and not only that, my great-granddaughter's life, to only be a couple weeks old in this world, innocent as the saying goes, as a newborn baby, is what it is, innocent, for her life to be taken like that. And we're gonna miss her.
They said a prayer before releasing balloons, and the family says this has been extremely hard for them, and they are going to miss both of them dearly. All right, turning now to weather. Kyle, a beautiful day to kick off this weekend, especially for Mother's Day. A lot of people were able to get out, but I hear you about to break some bad news to them. Some rain. Could it be moving in?
Yeah, for Mother's Day, you know, need those indoor plans, or if you did have some outdoor activities, hopefully you got those in today, because the rain is moving in now and it's going to be settling in here as we go through the next several hours. Now, not all of this green that you see like around Indianapolis is reaching the ground. We're still kind of moistening up the atmosphere just a little bit, but these returns across Hamilton County certainly are seeing some of that light to, at times, some moderate rain. rain out there. Right now there's a dry downtown at 54 degrees. Chilly though. Crawfordsville at 48. Same for you in Bloomington. Columbus at 54. We'll find our temperatures sliding back into the 40s, and you notice as we go through the overnight and into the early morning hours, we start to see some of the heavier rain mainly north of Interstate 70, but then I think we'll all start to get in on some of that heavier rain here as we have temperatures holding middle to upper 40s here as we work our way to the south, some lower 50s. There's some pink, though, moving across northern portions of Indiana. I don't think we're going to have to deal with any of the wintry weather, but here is what's coming our way. That rain going to be right through Sunday evening. Rainfall amounts 1 to 3 inches here, and we could see a few thunderstorms going into Sunday afternoon. So we'll break that down, talk about that potential severe weather threat in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Kyle, for that weather update. Well, the White House wants 70% of American adults to have received at least one dose of the vaccine by July 4th, but the daily rate of vaccinations is declining, and now there are some incentives being offered to try and overcome vaccine hesitancy. Well, here's ABC Christine Sloan with the latest.
Saturday night's celebrity-filled Vax Live concert hoped to raise awareness and encourage everyone to roll up their sleeves.
You know, we can't let up now. The vaccines are safe. I promise you they're safe. They work.
According to the CDC, more than 112 million Americans are now fully vaccinated, but demand for the shots has been on the decline.
People are busy. They haven't had time to do some research. They're understandably concerned about anyone, running toward them with a needle.
America's daily vaccination rate falling below 2 million shots for the first time since March.
These vaccines can also help reduce the risk of asymptomatic infection and transmission. So reducing the risk of spread is a big endpoint as well.
Some states turning down doses. Kansas and Wisconsin both asking for less than 10% of what the federal government scheduled for them next week. Robin Banks was hesitant to get vaccinated. He then tested positive for COVID-19.
I do regret not getting the vaccine early because I would not want to go through this. I would not want to go through what I'm going through right now.
Officials hoping Pfizer's request for full FDA approval combined with the expected authorization to give the shot to 12 and 15-year-olds could boost confidence among younger people who now make up the majority of hospitalized patients.
We don't have anyone in our ICUs who's fully vaccinated. The people who are still at risk are those who are unvaccinated.
A growing number of incentives are now being offered to entice people to get vaccinated. This business owner offering discounts and gift cards to anyone who attends nearby vaccine drives.
Vaccination, I feel like, is the only answer to try to get us back to normal. And I'm all for it.
And the Atlanta Braves giving free tickets to anyone who got vaccinated at Saturday's game. Christine Sloan, ABC News, New York.
All right, now let's take a look at the latest numbers from the State Department of Health on COVID-19 and its impact on Indiana. Another 1,056 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with the virus. 8 more Hoosiers have died. The total number of deaths is now 12,991 since March of 2020. More than 728,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. Well, the CDC wants to make sure you really understand how COVID is spread. The agency just updated its website, stressing that inhalation is one of the main ways the virus is transmitted. The CDC also placed less emphasis on the risk of picking it up from surfaces. The changes to the website are in line with a gradual shift in advice to stress the virus spreads through the air, either breathe in or through the eyes. Although you can get it by touching a surface with the virus, the agency says people who are closer than 6 feet from an infected person are most likely to get infected. Terror in Times Square. Several people, including a young child, shot by a gunman. But this crime was mostly a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, that story when we return.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Well, New York police say all 3 people shot in a busy area of Times Square today were innocent bystanders. One of the victims, a 4-year-old girl who was shot in the leg. Investigators believe 2 to 4 men got into an argument, and during the dispute, at least one of them fired a gun. Bullets struck 3 different people in the area who had no relation to each other. NYPD has already released security footage of the suspected gunman, but no arrests have been made at this time. Well, it's the first of its kind right here in Indianapolis. Vaden's Firearms and Ammunition is now open for business. The gun shop is the first independently owned by a black man on the east side of Indianapolis. Owner Ryan Vaden says he has received an overwhelming amount of support. Although the business is off to a really great start, he says his biggest priority is firearm safety.
I think education can sit here and start more when it's at home, but before they can start at home, a lot of education needs to be presented to that customer or to that individual that may be a novice or may not know, so they can sit here and share that with the rest of their family. And that's my biggest thing, is to impact not just the customer and not just the customer child, but their whole entire family and their whole entire community. I think it's one thing also evident too as well. We do this, as human nature, is just sharing that information with our friends, families, and loved ones.
Safety classes will begin in June, and to find out more about Vaden's Firearm and Ammunition, visit them online for more information. The police shootings and the protests that followed reignited the debate over racism in the United States. Well, this week, conservative commentator Abdul Hakim Shabazz wrote a column in which he argued that the U.S. was not a racist country. Abdul is also one of our WRTV political insiders. Well, tonight, he and Democratic insider Brian Gotti are diving a little bit deeper into that question.
Well, if you look at the facts and look at the data, you can tell America is not a racist country. Now, with that said, though, I want to make this perfectly clear. There are racists in America, but just because there are racists in America does not mean America is a racist country. Because if America was a racist country, there's no way that Barack Obama would have got elected twice. That's kind of point number one. Point number two, look at some of the on-ground data. If you look at high school and college graduation rates, African Americans are actually doing much better than they ever have at any other point in time. And even if you look at the issue of police action shootings that have been recorded over the past 5 years, only about 22 a year have been African American men who've been unarmed. That's different than an African American man who's armed. Now, obviously, there's some work to do in that area. But as far as saying America's a racist country, no. Are there racists in America? Sure, there are, and only an idiot would deny that. But America is not a racist country.
To me, the best way to respond to this issue is to view our history, not try to sugarcoat it, not try to live in an Alice in Wonderland world about the things that we face, not only just our history, but the systemic racism we're still dealing with in many of our institutions today, and then try to move forward together. But we have to acknowledge our past. I don't think we can just say, hey, is America a racist, yes or no, and then try to act like, well, many of these things have happened in the past, let's move on from it. Because so much of our past, we are still dealing with the vestiges of slavery, Jim Crow, many of these institutions that are in American society. There are vestiges of discrimination involved. We have to acknowledge it, and then let's work on it together. I think that's the best way to respond to it, rather than just to say, is America racist, yes, or is America racist, no? Because it's much more complex than that. I don't think you can just have a yes or no answer.
Well, he was a furry and familiar presence at the White House during the Obama years. Today, we learned former first dog Bo has died after a battle with cancer. President Obama posted the news today on Twitter, calling Bo a true family friend and loyal companion. The Portuguese water dog was a gift to the Obamas from the late Senator Edward M. Kennedy, who was a key supporter of Obama's 2008 presidential campaign.
We enjoyed the sunshine today, then the clouds started to roll back in, and now we're getting used to some rain, and that's going to be kind of the flavor over about the next 18 to 24 hours, and it's going to be a chilly rain with temperatures right now 49 for you in Martinsville, 47 Tipton, Muncie coming in at 52, 54 right now in the Indy area. Here's a look at that rain, and again, a lot of the light rain from Indy southeast, that's not actually making it to the ground just yet. It will continue, though, to move in from the northwest, and you can see see some of that moderate rain right now around Rockville, also near the Tipton area and Crawfordsville. So a little bit of a soggy go for you. And I think the more steady rain is going to be north of Interstate 70 here as we go through the overnight. You can see some moderate rain getting ready to move into the Peru area. So here's a look at TrueCast. We go through the overnight hours. There's some of that moderate rain off to the north. Could be heavy at times as we get to about 7 o'clock in the morning, but notice that's primarily just north of I-70. May not see a whole lot of rain as we go through the morning hours here around Bedford, Seymour, and into Bloomington. That will change, though, as we go through the morning and into the early afternoon. You can see everyone getting in on a batch of some heavy rainfall, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder there. We could see a little break in the activity by early afternoon, a few more scattered showers then developing as we get into the afternoon and possibly an isolated thunderstorm. Rain potential could see about 1 inch to possibly 3 inches along and north of I-70. Notice how that drops off a little bit, but still could see a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain south of I-70. So some localized flooding issues, should not be all that widespread. We do have a marginal or very low risk here as we go into tomorrow afternoon, basically around 4 p.m. and after, around Bedford, Seymour, into Bloomington, Columbus. Some of those storms could have some gusty winds, but temperatures not really going anywhere tomorrow. We'll be in the 40s and 50s with that rain throughout the day. A little bit of an east breeze as well, about 15 to 20 miles per hour at times with those gusts. 58 in Indy, 60s for you where you don't see as much rain around Bloomington, Columbus, but only in the 40s around Peru. Next few days of our forecast, those highs going to hold around 60, and we could have some areas of frost Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning with lows around 38 degrees. Finally, temperatures starting to get back to where they should be here by next weekend with a high of 70. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the news at 11.
All right, welcome back. Well, National Nurses Week kicked off on Thursday. It honors those who have been working for more than a year now to care for people impacted by COVID-19. Amanda Starantino met a nurse who spent most of her career caring for children, but decided to step away and look after adults suffering from the virus.
I remind myself as I feel suffocated under layers of filters, fabric, and rubber. Not nearly as suffocated as you must feel, I think, as I assess your numerous drains and tubes, checking to make sure they're all doing their jobs, as well as I hope to do mine for you.
Tiffany Smith puts these words to paper in her personal journal to embrace the experiences that have challenged her through the past year. It is beyond what she ever thought she would be doing as a pediatric nurse.
Because we're floaters at Riley, we work wherever we're needed. But with the surge of COVID, we stopped doing all of our elective surgeries, and just in general, our patient population decreased at Riley. And so we weren't needed, which transitioned to us being pulled over to Methodist to help out with the COVID ICU over there.
Months of working alongside and caring for people struggling to survive coronavirus. She wrote this poem based on her time within the hospital walls.
Something I wasn't expecting was most of my patients I only met when they were already sedated and intubated, and so I never got to speak with them or get to know them.
Her writing, an open letter to the people she cared for, but never got to meet.
I wanted them to know everything that I was thinking and feeling and the love behind my actions, and when I was in the moment caring for them, I didn't really have a way to vocalize that. There were a few times that I mentioned, I hope you feel me through the gloves and through the mask. And I think that's probably the component of the poem that I most resonate with, was just hoping that they felt my humanity.
And for the families that could not be there to hold their loved ones' hands and had to say goodbye too soon.
Having lost patients in the past and been around death a lot, more than most people, I think one of the fears of losing a loved one is that they're going to be forgotten. And so I would want them to know that their family members left a legacy with us, and even in the short time I got to care for them, I will remember them.
And journaling is not her only escape from the reality of fighting a deadly virus.
Me and my girls. Yeah, I love you guys. So they're kind of teaching me to feel the moment and respect that place. I am a much better nurse because of my time with animals. I am certain of that.
It is here at her quiet Greenfield home where Tiffany has learned to breathe herself before she returns to her patients' bedsides so they too can return home.
Being intentional and contemplative and realizing this is hard and it's okay that I don't feel okay, but not dwelling on that and allowing the places that you surround yourself with to fill you back up so that you can go back in and do it again tomorrow. I sigh and look out your door to the rest of the unit as I take off the fabric, filters, and rubber. I take one more loving, exhausted glance at you as I step out of your room and walk over to your neighbors. Breathe.
Ah, such a beautiful story. Well, that was Amanda Starantino reporting. Nurse Tiffany got transferred back to her normal duties as a resource pool nurse at Riley Hospital for Children a few weeks ago. We'll be right back. It's a goal so many of us fall short of, getting a good night's sleep. You're talking about me. For millions of people, it can also be a sign of a medical condition known as sleep apnea, which can have big health impacts. But Maya Rodriguez found a high-tech implant is helping.
Getting a good night's rest can sometimes be elusive. It's a struggle Emily Ziliak's faced since high school.
By the time I was 17, I realized, okay, this is kind of an issue.
She was diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea, a medical condition that interrupts your sleep cycle.
While you're sleeping, the inside of your throat closes on itself.
She tried everything, from tonsil and throat tissue surgery to using a nighttime breathing machine called a CPAP. Nothing worked.
You know, I just kind of felt like I was going to be living with this for the rest of my life, and I was just going to be tired all the time, and I wasn't going to be able to live like everyone else.
But Dr. Sanjay Atavale found success with Inspire, seen here in this animation provided by the company. It's an implant approved by the FDA that first came to prominence in Europe a decade ago, but is now starting to gain traction here in the U.S.
There's a sensor that we put on the lung that meets up with a generator, that meets up with a nerve stimulator. And so the sensor on the lung says, okay, he's breathing, and then the nerve stimulator opens up the inside of the throat at the same time.
It's covered by most insurance, a medical innovation that could potentially impact millions. According to the American Sleep Apnea Association, about 22 million people in the country experience sleep apnea. About 80% of them are undiagnosed. If left undiagnosed, it can lead to other health issues like high blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes, strokes, and even depression. Last year, Emily decided to go for Inspire.
I call it my sleep-iversary. I remember the day that I got my surgery, September 28th, 2020. It's my sleep-iversary.
Before the implant, sleep apnea caused her throat to close 35 times an hour while she slept. After the implant, it's down to 2 an hour.
I mean, she probably sleeps better than I do at this point.
I have more energy to do things. I'm out and about with friends and my family, and I love it. I feel like I'm able to be my true self and be able to take care of myself 100%.
And she hopes to have finally put sleep apnea to rest. In Dawsonville, Georgia, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
And it'll be a rainy night for us. That rain continuing to fill in, and Amber, tomorrow morning could be a little heavy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for making WRTV your choice for news. Our next newscast is tomorrow at 6.